Today is Tuesday, August 12th. We'll tell you how President Trump is taking more control over Washington, D.C., and which other cities have been put on notice. Also, an unusual deal came out of the heated trade rivalry between the U.S. and China, as larger tariffs are still on hold. Plus, we're talking about a discovery uncovered from Texas flooding, what Ford is calling its next Model T moment, and Taylor Swift's new announcement made with the help of her football star boyfriend. Those stories and even more news coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. President Trump has taken over the Washington, D.C. Police Department and deployed hundreds of National Guard troops onto the city streets, as well as FBI agents. It's part of his new unprecedented effort to tackle homelessness and crime in the nation's capital. For now, the federal takeover is set to last 30 days, and Trump says it's necessary. At a news conference yesterday, he compared Washington, D.C.'s homicide rate to other capitals around the world, like Bogota, Colombia. He spoke about a crime emergency, complete with bloodthirsty criminals, drugged-out maniacs, and roving mobs of wild youth. But many local officials say that's misleading. They point to official data from the Justice Department that shows violent crime is actually at a 30-year low. Still, many D.C. officials acknowledge crime is still a problem, and the per capita homicide rate in D.C. is higher than most other major American cities. Either way, Trump says if his crackdown goes well, the federal government might target other cities next, like Baltimore, Chicago, New York, and Los Angeles. Of course, he's faced a lot of pushback the last time he sent the National Guard into L.A. Remember, that was in response to protests over deportation operations earlier this year. And California officials say that military presence only made tensions worse. They sued, arguing Trump broke a law that limits him from using the military within the U.S., though the White House defends itself, saying the action was legal and necessary to protect federal property and personnel. This week, a judge is hearing the case in a trial that could set precedent for how Trump can deploy the Guard in the future. So, to be continued. A grocery store in Austin, Texas became the scene of a violent attack. A gunman opened fire outside a busy Target store yesterday. 2 adults and a child were killed. Police say the shooter stole a car from one of the victims and took off, crashed the car, then stole another from a Volkswagen dealership. He was eventually arrested about 20 miles away. Investigators say the shooter had a history of mental health episodes and has been held in emergency detention before out of fears he could hurt himself or someone else. This is actually the 3rd time in 2 weeks that a man with a documented history of mental health problems opened fire in a public place. Remember, another man fired on the CDC's headquarters in Atlanta? Before that, it was in New York City when a gunman stormed a Midtown Manhattan office building. Investigations into all of these shootings continue. Authorities are now trying to figure out what caused an explosion at a U.S. steel plant near Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania this week. At least 2 people were killed and 20 others were hurt, many of them critically. The facility was also heavily damaged, but U.S. Steel says it's stable and most of it is still open and operating. The explosion and several smaller blasts could be felt in the nearby community, and at first people were told to stay indoors with their windows closed. But now officials say they have not detected any air quality concerns, so all advisories have been lifted. Israel is facing fresh backlash for an airstrike that killed several journalists from AlJazeera, including a well-known Pulitzer Prize-winning correspondent, Anas al-Sharif. The Israeli military accused al-Sharif of being a Hamas fighter and of advancing rocket attacks against Israelis. An Israeli military spokesperson even posted a photo of al-Sharif with the mastermind of the Hamas attack on Israel back in 2023. It's not clear when or why the photo was taken. In the minutes before he died, al-Sharif posted on X that Israel had been bombarding Gaza City for hours. Then another message came out that he apparently asked be posted in the event of his death. It read in part, quote, "I never hesitated to convey the truth as it is, without distortion or misrepresentation." AlJazeera says al-Sharif and his colleagues were actually among the last voices conveying the tragic reality of the situation in Gaza. And the news outlet now accuses Israel of silencing voices on purpose before it goes ahead with a plan to occupy the enclave. The network is funded by the Qatari government, which is a central mediator in talks to end the war in Gaza. Now, Qatar's prime minister says targeting journalists was a crime beyond imagination. At this point, it's not clear what this might mean for future peace talks. The Atlantic hurricane season is ramping up. Tropical storm Erin has formed in the ocean west of Africa's Cabo Verde Islands, and it's expected to become the first hurricane of the season. In fact, it could become a major Category 3 storm by this weekend. As of right now, Erin is not expected to pose a direct threat to the U.S. It's unlikely to hit another area like Bermuda or the Bahamas, but many places could still end up getting rain or rip currents from the storm, even if it doesn't hit land. And the path could still change, so meteorologists on the East Coast and Caribbean are watching it closely. The National Hurricane Center predicts an above-normal hurricane season for the Atlantic this year. The season is typically most active in August, September, and October. More news ahead, but first, thanks to our sponsor, Trade Coffee. I've been a cold brew fan for years, but I used to rely on coffee shops thinking it was just for special mornings. Then I found Trade, and it turns out making cold brew at home is both easy and delicious, something that actually can be part of my every morning. They deliver beans roasted specifically for cold brew from incredible roasters all over the country. Each bag is fresh, and Trade makes it simple. They grind it for you, so all I have to do is scoop into a pitcher, add water, leave it in the fridge overnight, and the next morning, I've got this smooth, rich cold brew that's just as good, if not better, than my favorite coffee shop. Plus, the flexible subscription means I can skip deliveries when I'm away or reschedule when I'm back, so I always have great coffee ready to go. For a limited time, Trade is giving 50% off a month of cold brew. That's around 60 cups of cold brew for 50% off when you go to drinktrade.com/newsworthy. That's drinktrade.com/newsworthy to get 50% off 1 month of cold brew. drinktrade.com/newsworthy. Now, back to the news. Dinosaur footprints from 115 million years ago were just unearthed. And the only reason they was that devastating flooding in central Texas last month. Apparently, the floodwaters swept away layers of sediment and brush that had them hidden. Paleontologists at the University of Texas confirmed at least 15 individual footprints from meat-eating dinosaurs. Other prints nearby might have represented large herbivores. Researchers are now going back with maps and 3D imaging, hoping to learn more about how the dinosaurs behaved. But they're promising not to impact ongoing flood cleanup efforts. And they have asked other people to keep an eye out while they evaluate their land, saying more discoveries could be found in people's own backyards. Once again, President Trump delayed higher tariffs on shipments from China. These are the tariffs he threatened that could be as high as 145%. They were set to take hold at midnight and could have amounted to a trade embargo between the world's two largest economies. But Trump decided to extend the pause for another 90 days while negotiators scramble to reach a deal. The U.S. also reached an unusual deal yesterday. Chip makers NVIDIA and Advanced Micro Devices agreed to pay the U.S. government 15% of their revenue from sales of AI chips to China. And with that, they'll get their export licenses to keep doing business there. President Trump also said NVIDIA will be selling an old chip to China that's less advanced than what's being sold in the U.S. Still, both Democratic and Republican lawmakers have raised concerns over this deal, calling it a misuse of export controls that are meant to be about national security, not bargaining chips. So far, no comment from China, but NVIDIA says it will be following the rules to compete in the U.S., China, and worldwide. Ford announced new plans to invest billions of dollars in new electric vehicle production in what it calls the company's next Model T moment. Of course, the Model T was the car that changed the world, making it so average Americans could afford cars through mass production. This time, the mass production includes the company's first new assembly line in 120 years and new battery production to build EVs. And Ford says one of those EVs will be the most affordable electric pickup truck on the market. It's set to cost $30,000 and roll out by 2027. Ford is just the latest company to announce a big American investment this year as it faces pressure to shift manufacturing back to the U.S. and to compete with their Chinese competitors. Another big name in streaming has made a new investment in live sports. Paramount got exclusive media rights for all Ultimate Fighting Championship matches in the U.S. starting next year. It's part of a deal worth $7.7 billion, making it twice as lucrative as UFC's current agreement with ESPN. It also moves UFC away from the pay-per-view model. Paramount sees it as a good deal too, since it guarantees year-round content as it works to attract and keep subscribers. Granted, ESPN likely isn't too upset about losing UFC either, since it just signed its own deal with WWE. Speaking of sports and streaming, ESPN and Fox announced a new bundle as they both get ready to launch similar services. We're talking about the new ESPN standalone service that will give subscribers access to all of ESPN's many feeds, plus Fox One that will include Fox's NFL and MLB telecasts, on top of Fox News, Fox Weather, and so on. With this bundle, fans will be able to get both for about $40 a month starting this October, saving people about $10 a month. Taylor Swift has returned from a brief hiatus with a big announcement. She revealed her 12th album will be coming out soon, called Life of a Showgirl. So far, not much else has been said about it, but we could hear more tomorrow when a new episode of the New Heights podcast comes out. That's the show hosted by Swift's boyfriend and NFL star Travis Kelce and his brother and retired NFL star Jason Kelce. They've already put out a little tease showing Swift revealing the album, which in the promo is blurred out. Spotify billboards also started popping up overnight in New York City and Nashville. So far, no telling when it might come out, but her website says the pre-order vinyls will ship before October. That's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, this episode is sponsored by Honeylove. You know that feeling when you can't wait to get home and change? Yeah, Honeylove has fixed that. Whether it's their super comfy shapewear that never rolls, their tanks that layer perfectly, or their bras that feel good enough to keep on, Honeylove pieces are designed to move with you all day. I've worn them for morning errands, long work days, even special events, and never once felt like I needed a wardrobe change. It's style, function, and comfort all rolled into one. And after washing and wearing them countless times, they still look and feel new. It's that kind of quality that makes me feel like I'm getting something truly worth investing in. Plus, they've got options to fit and flatter so many shapes and sizes. Treat yourself to the most comfortable and innovative bras, shapewear, and tanks on earth, and save 20% off site-wide at honeylove.com/newsworthy. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off, honeylove.com/newsworthy. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Experience the new standard in bras, shapewear, and more with Honeylove. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. And today's trivia question is, which former president liked to conduct meetings in the bathroom? Listen again next Tuesday for the answer and explanation. As for last week's trivia question, what's the only continent without an active volcano? The answer is Australia. The continent actually does host one of the world's largest volcanoes, called the Tweed volcano, but it's extinct. NASA says eruptions lasted there for about 3 million years. That ended about 20 million years ago, but it is still recognizable today. As for why no volcanoes are actually erupting in Australia right now, it's because the continent is missing tectonic plate boundaries where most volcanoes form. In fact, 75% of volcanoes are found in a tectonic belt that stretches 25,000 miles from Asia up to Alaska and down to South America. That belt is fittingly named the Ring of Fire. Thanks so much for joining us to get caught up on the news today. You can further support our work here and get access to ad-free episodes by becoming a Newsworthy Insider. Start your free trial at thenewsworthy.com/insider. And Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to episodes of The Newsworthy ad-free in the Wondery app. We'll be back tomorrow with the latest news to know. Until then, have a great day.